Have you ever thought about what happens when a single moment of pure fear doesn't just end? When instead it plants a seed that starts to take over your entire life? Well, today we're diving deep into the self-perpetuating cycle of panic disorder. It's a condition that can literally trap someone in a spiral of fear and anxiety, and we're going to break down exactly how that happens.
Seriously, just picture it. It can happen absolutely anywhere, anytime, with zero warning. You could be in a work meeting, driving on the freeway, or just chilling on your couch watching TV. And then, bam, out of nowhere, it feels like your world is ending.
And we're not just talking about feeling a little nervous here. No, this is a primal, physical takeover. Your heart is pounding out of your chest, you can't catch your breath, you might feel dizzy, maybe even like you're detached from reality. It is an absolutely terrifying experience. But the attack itself, that's really just the beginning of the problem.
So what is it that turns one single awful event into a chronic disorder? It's all about what happens after that first attack. This is where the psychological loop of fear grabs hold. And trust me, it is incredibly powerful.
Okay, so after that first attack, your brain basically goes on high alert. It develops something called anticipatory anxiety, which is, really, the fear of the fear itself. You're not just living your life anymore. Now you're on patrol, constantly scanning your own body, just waiting for that other shoe to drop.
And right here, this is how that feedback loop gets going. It all starts with that first, out-of-the-blue attack. That experience creates this deep, profound fear that it's going to happen again. Now, because of that fear, you become hypervigilant. All of a sudden, a totally normal sensation, like your heart beating a little faster after a cup of coffee, gets misinterpreted as a sign of danger. That misinterpretation sends a jolt of anxiety through your system, which, and here's the irony, triggers the very panic attack you were so afraid of. The cycle just proved itself right.
So, to try and break this horrifying cycle, people do what seems logical. They start avoiding any situation they think might trigger an attack. But this coping mechanism, it's actually a trap.
And this is what we call the paradox of avoidance. See, in the short term, skipping that crowded mall or that stressful meeting, it brings this wave of relief. It feels like a win. But the long-term effect? Oh, it's devastating. You're essentially teaching your brain, yep, that situation is dangerous and I am not equipped to handle it. So the fear just gets reinforced, making the anxiety even stronger next time.
And so, that list of places and things you avoid just gets longer and longer. It might start with not wanting to drive on the highway. Then it becomes avoiding driving altogether. You avoid a crowded grocery store, and pretty soon you're avoiding all stores. Bit by bit, systematically, your entire world just begins to shrink.
And eventually this shrinking world is going to crash right into one of the most structured parts of our adult lives, our careers. I mean, think about it. How can you possibly focus on a deadline when a part of your brain is on high alert 24/7 scanning for danger? Your decision-making gets totally clouded. But to a boss, this can just look like you're a bad employee. This leads to more sick days, tons of chronic stress, and eventually just complete and total burnout.
And here is a truly devastating statistic. If that poor performance eventually leads to losing your job, the stress of unemployment itself can actually double the symptoms of anxiety for a lot of people. So the thing that happened because of the anxiety now makes the anxiety twice as bad. It's a brutal feedback loop.
And just like that, there's a new, very real trigger in the mix. The stress of having no income, of watching bills pile up, that feeds directly back into the cycle. It ramps up that anticipatory anxiety, making more attacks almost inevitable. The spiral just keeps getting tighter and tighter.
But this isn't just about a career, not by a long shot. This disorder seeps into every single aspect of a person's life, especially their relationships.
People often hide their symptoms because they're afraid of being judged or seen as weak. And this causes them to pull away from friends and family, the very support system they need the most. As their world shrinks from the outside, they become profoundly isolated and misunderstood on the inside.
So, after facing setback after setback at work and feeling more and more cut off from everyone, this deep, dark sense of despair can really set in. This feeling of utter hopelessness. It becomes another bar on the cage, making it even harder to imagine a way out.
And that really just gets to the heart of persistent panic disorder. It's not just a single attack. It's a cycle that feeds itself, that shrinks your world, that isolates you until the whole thing feels completely and totally unbreakable. It really leaves us with the most critical question of all. When a spiral feels this tight, where on earth do you even begin to look for a way out?